Doing equity isn't to make sure you're just checking the right box. It's doing it from your heart and say, well, I want to understand. I want to get it right as much as I can. And if I make a mistake, I'm sorry, I'm going to keep growing.
This week, we're going to be talking about going beyond Black History Month, especially when incorporating sort of anti-racist practices into one's education strategy. And that's why I wanted to touch base with Derek today, who's just an incredible voice and advocate for counselors, teachers, students, families, communities, like basically the list could go on. But I wanted to just pass it over to you, Derek.
First of all, thanks for having me on here. I appreciate it so much for an opportunity to share. I support our students at our schools with their academics, social emotional development, and college and career readiness. And so I support our counselors with doing that work. And I love it.
Seems like there is a lot of momentum right now from the racial justice movement across the country and even across the globe. And there's just so much energy and momentum. And hopefully that can be harnessed in the world of education. And I'm wondering, if you have any advice on what sort of intentions educators can set for themselves going into Black History Month to make sure that we're not just checking a box, that we're not just having this one dedicated space to talk about it, but it's something that we're living all the time.
I think one of the key things that is needed, especially as an educator getting ready for Black History Month, but this can be any time of the year, even if you're getting ready to go back into your building and you're like, all right, I want to do better work with my students from diverse populations. I do feel the first thing you have to do is be honest about yourself. Where are you at? Because I know a lot of folks have been around these national conversations or seen webinars, and it might be their first time really having to do that gut check of, all right, where am I at in this work? And I think part of that means, how are you doing day in and day out? When you're in settings where you're around friends or neighbors or at a bonfire, if race comes up or something racist is said, what are your current patterns? Because I think it really starts with examining, what are you doing now? Just because you saw a webinar or watched something on the news or you read a book about anti-racism, it really means you have to stop doing some things that you've been doing that are systemically racist.
So I love that you're making this connection of doing self-examination. Even if we've made progress at this high level, how are you making progress at the small interpersonal level?
So I really encourage educators to say, all right, what biases do I have that I have to work on? If our world already has racism embedded in news media, conversations people are saying, that becomes beliefs and habits. And so if you're already in the habit of, oh yeah, when we talk about this group of people who I don't have a real authentic connection around, we say these things about them, or we talk about the things they wear or the area they live in. When you do start to be in community with people who are different, then it's unlearning all those negative things that have become automatic. And so that's the role, I think, as educators, where kids come to school to learn how to socialize. They learn how to share. They learn how to say sorry. They learn how to grow and learn from other people. So that's why you have to, as early as you can, correct those racist behaviors.
You're talking about how school is where you learn to be a human being, a full human being. It's not just about test scores. It's not about reading level. It's not about career readiness. It's all those things, but so much more. How do you interact with people? How do you become a member of society? That's how, I look at education a lot of the time. And I think that's why that's so important is you're not going to go out into a world where you're just going to be with one group of people. And it doesn't mean just tolerate people, right? It means, how do you create meaningful communal spaces where we can all thrive together?
And there's an activity that we're going to start doing with our students. And it's a way to understand our similarities and differences. And so starting off, we'll have the two people stand facing each other. And every time you name something that's different about them, you give them 5 things that are different, and you have them take a step back. Step back, step back. And then after they've done that, you name 5 plus things that they have in common and have them come back. So then it helps give students perspective of they're calling out, oh yeah, I see that's something that's different from them. But then you give them a whole list of things guess what? Look at all these things that they have similar. And I think giving kids that visual, seeing the other students as equal to them, or like, oh, we have that in common. We don't do enough spaces of that in our society. Our country's been founded on separating. And so I don't think we put enough efforts to say, all right, we've gone hundreds of years of separating everyone by race and class, and how can we bring them back together? So I feel that's the charge of the school. I really believe if our country's going to heal, school counselors are going to be at the front of it.
If you're looking for cost-free resources to teach Black history every month of the year, check out EVERFI's Black History Resource Hub to get access to digital lessons, implementation guides, and professional development webinars.